So today is the 30th anniversary of the song The Wild Boys. Last week it was the 30th anniversary in the UK. Well, that makes sense, 30-30. And we're lucky enough to be speaking to John, who's sort of with Nick, the historian of the band, and just wondered what your recollections are of that time, of the pressure of putting an extra song on an album, working with Niall again after the Reflex. Just that whole time was crazy, I imagine.
Well, yes, I suppose it was. I remember being asked, you know, could we come up with one song, that we could go with this live album, but we'd need one song, and which seemed at the time like a very tall order. I think because we were coming to the end of the arena tour, and we were really looking at least I was looking forward to a break. But the Wild Boys project really couldn't have come at a better time, and it sort of came to us sort of fully flushed out. It was conceptual, it was cool. We kind of really lucked into it through Russell. Russell Mulcahy, who was like our guy with videos at that time, and we'd spent some time with him in Australia when he'd been developing the William Burroughs book, The Wild Boys, and he'd been developing that into a major film. And we'd sort of said, part jokingly, well, when the film's made, we'd like to do the song. So I kind of feel like the timeline was that we sort of had the title, and we started working on a song with Niall in London. We started working on a song, and we had that title. And I think by the time the song was finished, Russell's film had sort of been put on hold, and he very generously decided to use all of the research, all of the costuming, and all of the crazy ideas that for characters and for visuals that he'd been working on for his film. He threw it all into the video.
So it really stems from being a video first?
Well, without a doubt, we would not have come to that title or that subject had Russell not been engaged in that in a project, in a film, in a project to bring William Burroughs' book to the movie, to the film screen. So we were quite lucky, really. Although it didn't seem like it at the time. It seemed like a huge amount of money to spend on a video, and none of us were happy about it at the time. But that's often the way it is. Looking back, it's a fantastic piece of work, I think. Really out there.
I mean, really, it's a piece of art, I think. So how did Niall come into the fold with Wild Boys?
Well, he'd done the Reflex remix, which had been obviously a great success, and we had loved what he'd done. So the idea was for him to come and work on an original song with us. So he flew to London, and we were working in Nomis rehearsal studios in Shepherd's Bush, and we gave ourselves a couple of days to try to come up with something, and we came up with two ideas, and one of them was Wild Boys, and I guess and it just became the one. It just became the one that we developed and finished.
And how big a part did Niall play in the sound of it? Did it sound much different when you were done working with him?
Well, yes. I mean, at that point, Niall was, he was the best. He was the top producer in the world at that moment, and I think that he would take samples. I remember he sampled the drums, Roger's drums, and went away with them. And we had no idea. We knew he wanted a big, really out there kind of drum sound. We'd recorded the drums at Maison Rouge, which was where Phil Collins had worked, where Peter Gabriel had done, some of his recent, like Games Without Frontiers. We knew we loved the sound of that room. We knew we wanted a pretty extreme drum sound. It was just very quirky. Niall was just getting to grips with the synclavier. That was his tool of choice, and so he took the raw recording, if you like, back to New York and turned it out.
Wow. And then, how long did you work on the video? How many days? How many weeks?
Well, I don't know. I don't know that we were involved. I think actually, there's the extended mix of the video, but I think the only scene. I think there's one scene of all of us,
Yeah.
which is the ticker tape parade,
Right.
and then we all have an individual scene.
Right.
So I think that we probably all did 2 days work on it.
And then Russell went away.
Yes, but the film, but Russell, would have been working on it for 2 weeks or something.
And when you first saw it, were you blown away?
You know what? At the time, I was just. I don't know if I was blown away, to be honest. I was probably just so crazed at that time. I wasn't really appreciating anything. Things were moving so quickly. You couldn't really allow yourself. I don't remember seeing it for the first time. I don't remember. I don't remember hearing the mix of the song for the first time, and I don't remember seeing the video for the first time. I remember it was the song where it was decided we'd do 5 different picture sleeves,
right?
Where there would be a picture sleeve of each member. It was right at the things were at their peak at that point, and we were at our limit, or at least I was. I can't speak for anybody else. I don't know what anybody else's memory of it would have been. I know that I would have been very satisfied with the sound of the record, and I would have been very satisfied with the video, even though there was a feeling that it had become. At the time, that it had become indulgent.
Right.
I think that with hindsight, it's nice to talk about the connection to the William Burroughs book. It's really easy to spin it now, and it actually come out kind of cool.
Right.
But at the time, it felt expensive and indulgent, and perhaps we, somehow needed to get back to a simpler way of presenting ourselves. But that wasn't the moment. The moment was to be as conceptual and to be as large as possible.
It's become a concert staple for you guys. I don't think there's hardly a show that you don't do Wild Boys. Did you have any idea that's what it would become?
No. You're not thinking like that.
Right.
You're just trying to do the best song that you can do at the time. One thing I will say about that generally is that most of the songs that are staples in the show now, songs that I love to play night after night after night, they were all hell to make. They all required an incredible amount of work, and and 20 years later, I come to appreciate that it was worth it. So I need to remember that as we sort of come to the last couple of laps on the new album.
Yeah, yeah. It was worth the effort
Yeah.
for sure. Well, thank you for sitting down and talking to us about Wild Boys. I certainly appreciate it. Your perspective always enlightens us. Because I had
Wow.
no idea that I didn't know that about Russell. That it was sort of like I knew bits and pieces of it, but I didn't know the whole story.
Mm.
So thanks for
Well,
clarifying.
any other band member could probably give you an entirely different story, but that's how I remember it.
I'll go with you. I think
Okay.
you have a pretty good recall.
All right,
Well,
Kat.
thank you, JT.
All right. Enjoy
And
Sunday.
yes, and we will speak to you in the December year-end cafe. So get your lists ready.
Sounds good.
All right, take care.
Okay. Ciao. Bye.